I've been in monk mode for about 4 years straight. And I think I'm getting to the point now. I think I am at the point now where I realize this isn't working for me anymore and I need to reintegrate back into society. So if you don't know what monk mode is, it's a popular term. Well, not that popular, but a somewhat popular term on the internet where you basically just kind of retreat from all of the social activities in your life, social events, basically any extra activity that doesn't add productive value to your life, you step away from like alcohol and booze to, going out late at night to events to basically anything that just, it doesn't serve a productive purpose in terms of your life's work and your career. And instead you focus on introspection. So like, who am I? What do I like? What am I doing? Self-awareness. You can get into like some crazy, habits surrounding like, health and fitness and try to really, basically it's just like monk mode is just, how do I improve myself as a person? How do I like the self-improvement space is kind of what monk mode is. And it's isolating that into a period of time where you step away from everything that you're doing now and you kind of go into this isolation mode where you are being very critical about all the habits you have in your life and how can you improve yourself so that you can come out of this as a better person and then reintegrate back into society as like a newer, better version of you. I came across this idea a while ago, and I think I initially might have gotten it from Chris Williamson's podcast, which I really like. It's a great podcast. I've learned a lot from his show. And I kind of flipped that switch and pulled back from a lot of my friendships about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. I think it's almost been 5 years. And I started really focusing and honing in on getting good at things I wanted to get good at. Because I fundamentally at the time had this, I guess I would say insecurity about not being really good at one specific thing. I've always wanted to be really good at one specific thing. I didn't care so much what it was, but I just wanted to have some sort of mastery over something. And so I devoted a lot of time into trying different things that I might want to be good at and sunk tons of time into doing those things. I spent a lot of time in athletics and working out, and I really wanted to get, really proficient at it and all that jazz. And it was fun for the amount of time that I sunk into that. It was actually really fun. And I still met people that were into that hobby as well, but pretty much it was everything I was doing was serving the self-improvement journey. And after doing that for like so long, I forgot to like reintegrate. I forgot to like, have a social life, that it's important to have a social life. And it's weird that I'm kind of talking about this now because yesterday I had gotten invited to a friend's birthday party that I'd met through my gym, and we went and played laser tag, and I haven't played laser tag in like years, and I haven't gone out that much in a while because I've just been so focused on just doing things for myself and self-improvement and all that jazz, and social life wasn't really a high priority on my list. And I went out there with the intention of just have fun. Excuse me. Just have a lot of fun. Have as much fun as I can possibly have. And it was just with the boys, we got the boys together, and I had an absolute blast playing laser tag with these guys. It was so much fun. We ended up winning 4 of the 5 games we played, which was the series. And it was just, it was competitive. It was fun. It was a good time. But even if we didn't win, I still think I would have had a lot of fun. But after I went to that event and I thought about it after, it really made me think like, man, I miss doing this. Like, why have I gone for so long without actually, setting up social events and reaching out to people and having fun outside of just, the day-to-day life that I would grind, like whatever hobby it is you're grinding or whatever career path it is you're grinding. I would still play video games and such as a wind down, and I still have people I would stay in contact with. But the one element that I had been missing for so long was just going out and allowing yourself to just like waste time, with other people, which I don't really consider so much a waste of time anymore because, you're living in the moment and just enjoying yourself, which is, perhaps one of the best ways to spend time. When it comes back to that, insecurity I had about wanting to master something and not having anything in particular that I could be, known for. After a while, after like grinding in a variety of different things, I realized, how not important that was. I didn't really need it. It's nice to have something that's yours, like, being really good at being able to play an instrument, for example, or being able to be good at, maybe downhill mountain biking or, making YouTube videos, whatever it is. It's nice to have something that you can take pride in. But the value of that, I don't really think that outvalues social relationships. So much of the most enjoyable experiences I've had in my life have been with and around people. I've definitely gotten great feelings from accomplishing different accomplishments and achieving some accolades, but at the end of the day, like it never gave the same reward and enjoyment that spending time around another person did, especially like someone you were enjoying the company of. And I think it's so easy for us to, retreat from society in general and, retreat from our own social lives because we spend so much time on the internet. And the internet can be such a massive part of your life if you let it. It's like, man, I can't tell you how many times I'm checking Reddit every day or checking YouTube for new comments or, looking at YouTube videos about someone talking about something. And it's weird because the amount of like content I've watched of specific YouTubers, I feel like I know them. But like, if I ever met them in person, they wouldn't feel like they know me because they never met me, even though I've watched so many videos of theirs. And I'm sure like it would go the other way around if like my subscribers ever ended up meeting me. They would feel like they knew me when I didn't know them. Excuse me. That's, that parasocial relationship problem. And I think YouTube in general is still, and social media is still like a really fantastic tool. And it's amazing that we can, take a peek into someone's life and get advice and information from them, which is really cool, even though we have this massive distance that we can't really cross. But nothing really replaces in-person human connection. There's just something about it that like, it's just so real, and there's like magic to it in a way. And, I really now feel like I'm going to prioritize that more, spending more time with friends and specifically having a focus on having fun. Because those moments when I was having fun, I would feel so alive and just have a smile on my face, and it would bring such a high to my week. Like, I gotta say, like, laser tag was definitely the highlight of my week. 100%. And maybe the highlight of my month. I mean, don't get me wrong. 500 subscribers is also a massive highlight. And I still love that I've been able to have that many people show up on the channel and watch the videos and subscribe without me asking them to. That accomplishment feels good. And it's great to work on something that you enjoy working on. But if I had to compare that with also like spending an hour playing laser tag with my buddies, I gotta say, like, that in-person experience felt so much more impactful because it was something that I got to experience like in person as a, like, the interaction. Whereas like seeing a number go up as an accomplishment feels good, but just doesn't feel as good as just spending time with real people in real life. And like I say, I'm not trying to criticize the internet or like gaming or anything like that. They're hobbies, they're fun, they're still worth doing and spending time with. But yeah, like there's something about just hanging out with people in person that just, it's so good for you. It's good for your mind. You know, it can make you feel a little bit less alone in the world. Even if those people may not completely understand what you're going through and all the ways that you are going through them. Because everyone's going through something, right? Like everyone's got their own challenges, their own difficulties. You know, you don't get to see everything that goes on behind the scenes for anyone, really. There's just, everyone's got a bag of problems that they're dealing with, and everyone has different problems. And, you know, some people can relate on some of those, and some people just never talk about them. But yeah, you know, we are all sharing this human experience together because we're all alive in the moments that we are alive. And those moments where you can share something with somebody, just pretty amazing. So yeah, when it comes back to monk mode, like if I had to like, you know, if I ever thought about doing it again, I don't think I would get, excuse me, stuck in a hopefully 4 or 5 year long period of doing it. It was valuable to me in a sense, because I definitely learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about introspection. You know, one of my favorite hobbies that I still do today, though not as much anymore, is journaling. And I've learned so much about myself just from journaling. It's probably one of the most useful skills I have ever developed, and practice regularly. Basically just recording your life and talking to yourself about what you're feeling and what's going on. You can also call it a diary if you want. I used to look down on that a lot when I was younger. I'm like, oh gosh, like diaries, they're only for girls. Why would a guy ever do that? And I remember there was one time I had a friend. I was having a tough time, and she's like, she said to me, she's like, you ever tried journaling? And I'm like, no, I don't know. And she's like, you should try it. You might like it. And you know, however many years later, I ended up sticking with it, and I didn't do it regularly, but eventually I ended up doing it daily, and it was amazing how much I learned about myself through doing that. And so if you've never tried it, it's something worth giving a shot. It's not for everybody, I guess. You know, there's always going to be people who won't bother putting the time in, but you know, when you feel like you need a friend to talk to, and you don't have anyone that will specifically understand what it is you're going through, it's funny how a journal or writing something in a journal can make you feel understood, even though there's no one really listening and it's just a journal. Because you can fully articulate the feeling that you're going through, the feeling you're experiencing, and putting that into words can really help. Excuse me, I have something in my throat today. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things I took away from that introspective journey. And I still think introspection is something really important. It's something good to do, but yeah, it could also be a trap, and it's a two-edged sword. You can learn a lot from it, but you can pull away from people so much that you stop having connections. And connections are important for your health, like your mental health, your enjoyment of life in general. And, you know, I've like been in some very like philosophical places in my life where I would spend so much time thinking about life in general and not really spending time having fun. And I think that's what laser tag kind of reminded me of, is like, I should have fun more. I should spend more time having fun, because fun is great. You know, like life is hard. Life is hard for a lot of people. I would say life is hard for everybody. You know, and like sometimes life's easier than other days, but you know, life can really get you down sometimes. And, you know, having some people that you can just share laughs with, and that's the depth, that's the like the extent of the depth of your relationship with them, is kind of a good thing. Like, you don't have to go super deep with everybody you know. Not every relationship has to be a fully in-depth, ocean-level deep relationship. You can have friendships that are kind of shallow And the only reason you hang out with them is just to have some fun. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think actually that can be something that's very good for you, because in those moments where you're having fun, you're kind of forgetting about all the hard things you have to deal with in life and just letting yourself be and experience life in the beauty that it can be. And I think that's important because we all need some form of escapism every now and then. And we also need a support network. And having friends that are just there for you to just joke around and have fun with, and that's all they need to be, that's fine. It's also nice to have friends that, you know, you can go in depth with. Maybe they're the same friends you can laugh hard with, but maybe they're not. Though I find that those people are very hard to come by. People who are, you know, they're really in your corner. They want to see you succeed. They don't get jealous of you. They are, you know, they're there for you when you need them, and you're there for them, returning that favor. A friendship like that is so rare. It's so rare. And if you do have that in your life, treasure it, because that is worth its weight in gold. Someone who can put jealousy aside and still celebrate your successes, that's massive. In a lot of friendships, jealousy ends up ruining tons of them. And it's sad because sometimes people don't see it in themselves when they're being jealous. Or maybe they have jealous feelings and they're having a really hard time putting them away. I've had so many relationships end because of jealousy, and I think it's fundamentally one of the most ugly human emotions that we can experience, although it is, you know, a human emotion regardless. Being able to put that away just so you can remain friends with that person and just try to be down to earth and be grateful for their success in life is something, I think that's a skill worth working on. You know, if you notice jealousy arising in yourself, I notice it sometimes in myself, and I'm like, man, that guy's got so much more than me. I wish I had what he had. And in those moments, I really have to work hard to remind myself, like, I don't want to be jealous. I don't want to act that way, because fundamentally, it'll just end up pushing that person away. And it's kind of when jealousy rears its ugly head, it just kind of makes everything uncomfortable and weird. It makes things just not, it kind of breaks relationships. And I've seen it with other people too. Like, observe one person be jealous over another person. You know, it could just make people act strange. And so there's a lot of value to trying to be humble and accept that everyone comes from a different walk of life. Everyone comes from a different place. You know, people have put in a variety of different work into different things. And like, your worth as a human doesn't amount to the things you have or the skills you've acquired. It just really means, like, I feel like it has more to do with, like, how do you treat other people? And like, you know, even then, judging someone or putting yourself in a position of trying to think of yourself as better than other people, it ends up hurting you a lot more than it hurts others. When you start to, like, equate things as, I'm better than this person or this person's better than me, when you start to think in that mindset, in that mind frame, it can push a lot of people away from you. It can make you start to think in a really egotistical mindset. It can also cause a lot of insecurities in your person as well. It's weird. It's like one of the most difficult mental traps for people to avoid. And you can see it everywhere. You can see a lot of people who, like, think a lot of themselves. You see people who don't think much of themselves, which is also like the reverse problem, having low self-esteem. You know, learning to be okay with who you are as an individual, like being comfortable in your own skin, in your own shoes, just, you know, admitting who you are as you are, where you come from, is kind of a powerful thing. You know, like, if you like admit that like maybe there's things about yourself that you kind of shy away to talk about with other people. You don't share because you think people will judge you for that thing. It's funny how much power you give yourself when you will admit that you are from a place. Like maybe your hometown, for example, is just some strange little hometown in the middle of nowhere, and you don't want anyone to know that you come from that hometown because they're like, oh my God, they're going to judge me that I'm like, some like person from a small little town. Just funny enough, just admitting that you're from that place, it kind of gives you the power back because it allows you to just not really care. And at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of people care anyway, where you're from or, who you are, what like you do and don't do. But the people who do care, the people who are caring a lot about like status and ego are typically the people that you're not going to bond very well with anyway, because they're putting all this like surface level data. They're judging you based on this surface level data that doesn't really matter. What matters more is like, do you connect? Can you share a down to earth relationship with somebody? Can you make each other laugh, smile? Can you understand someone's pain? Can you try to sympathize with them if you haven't experienced what they've gone through? Can you try to encourage them when they're down? Can you be someone that makes a positive difference in someone's life? Those are the relationships that are really worth keeping and spending time with. And you don't need to judge people who are in that space of egotistical mindsets and status either. That's just where they're at right now. Sometimes it takes people a long time to learn that staying in that mind frame isn't really serving them, more so hurting them. But we're human after all, and that's something we do regulate in our heads for some reason. And it's a game we all play, so it's still a part of life in some way. But yeah, where did we start? Monk mode. Now we're talking about ego and status. Yeah. So basically, when it comes down to monk mode, if you are in the monk mode right now, just remember, just give yourself a time frame to when you're going to leave monk mode and reintegrate back into society. Don't do what I did and spent 5 years in monk mode in isolation and not spending too much time with people, because people matter. People are cool and they can make you feel really good. You just got to find the right people to surround yourself with. Stay open to trying new relationships out, seeing where things go, trying to find people that are like-minded like you, or at the very least you can have laughs with, share laughs with, and hopefully more good vibes than bad vibes. And yeah, I guess if there's anything to leave you with is people are cool. Just got to find the right ones. You got to find your people. Thanks for listening. Sign out.